What is up, St. Louis sports fans? Today we have obviously hopefully we're getting back to the regular scheduled shows, but today we have a little bit to talk about with the hiring of Jim Montgomery last week, and then the few games that we've had with Jim Montgomery as the Blues head coach. So how about we dive right into things and talk about St. Louis Blues hockey right after this. So, with this week just getting Jim Montgomery back onto the Blues after a couple of seasons of not really seeing him much, with him being on the Boston Bruins, we've seen the Blues go 2-0-1 since we played against the New York Rangers, the New Jersey Devils, and the Philadelphia Flyers. How did you, James, after seeing the last three games with under Jim Montgomery, how did you feel the Blues played over these last few games under the new head coach?
Well, Brandon, I'll say this. I think the team looks completely different. Under Drew Bannister, they were more focused on team defense and very conservative hockey, which didn't really generate a lot of buzz, didn't generate very many wins. So when the option came up, Doug Armstrong pulled the trigger and signed Jim Montgomery to a 5-year contract right after that. And, we've seen an uptick already in the offense. They've played more aggressive. The first game against the Rangers, they had 43 shots on goal, which is a season high. So
season high.
5 goals. And like you said, they're 2-0-1, which is good. It's not amazing, but it's a good start to a turnaround and a good start to his tenure as the Blues head coach.
Yeah. And in all honesty, I mean, me and Brandon talked about it last week where we thought, coming into this week, you're playing against a team like New York, has had their ups and downs this season, but still a pretty formidable opponent. And then you have New Jersey, who's been lights out to start out this season. And then Philadelphia, who had a little bit of a rough go, but they've been playing pretty decently as of late. And all three of those games, you predominantly saw the Blues playing pretty darn well. I mean, I thought they held their own very well against New York. New Jersey, I thought they had a really good first period, and then they kind of almost had a period like they've had in the past where they almost gave up a few goals because New Jersey was lights out against the Blues in the second period. But they held their own against New Jersey very well, I thought. And then this recent game on yesterday against Philadelphia, where we got Philip Broberg back in the mix. So I thought they've played very, very well to start out the last few games. And one thing that they haven't really done a whole lot before Jim Montgomery took over, which they did pretty much the last few games aside from the one yesterday, was coming out, scoring quickly and first. And I thought it was very eye-opening because, it was here lately. We haven't seen the offense really take off like they have the last few games, and aside from this previous game, but still, I felt like that's something I hope they're going to take advantage of and going more of into these coming games, because I feel like how they're going to start winning more games is by scoring first rather than trying to get behind and then try to get the lead back, how they've done in the past under Bannister.
Right. And, and that's the thing, that they've played a much more open style game. They're still playing a good defensive game, or trying to. Like Monty said at the, his first press conference, when he's talking to everybody, he wants to get back to that blue collar hockey.
Yeah.
That the Blues, won the Stanley Cup on, which is aggressive forechecking, being an absolute beast in front of the net, and also playing good, stand up for yourself defense. And there's a lot of that showing in these first three games. Like a lot of that, if someone tried to take a little stab at someone, they weren't going to have it. They stood up for each other, and
Definitely.
that's the way this team needs to be made. They don't have a stalwart. They don't have a number one guy that could lead them, not a Connor McDavid or anything like that. So they have to work together as a team. And right now, I like that style. That format's looking good so far.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel the same. I especially with some of the games that they got coming up. I mean, they got Winnipeg next, I believe, on Monday or Tuesday, something like that. So
Yeah,
it'll be interesting to see how things kind of go these next few coming games. I mean, especially with, the Blues on special teams. They've been doing fairly well. I mean, even before Montgomery took over, that a lot of times that's how the Blues have been getting their scoring prior to Montgomery coming in. And just to see from, I think it was the New Jersey game where we lost Buchnevich, not knowing how long he's actually going to be out. I feel like he's somebody that's pretty pivotal on the for the special teams, especially with the games that we got coming up.
yeah, and I'll say this though, if he's out for a little bit, that does worry me. But what I will say is, I definitely like the play of other guys. They're kind of embracing the next man up. Like Dylan Holloway's got a couple goals since
Yep.
my hiring. Zach Bolduc, looked amazing that first game, and yeah, no other goals right now, but they're all showing a lot more aggressiveness, and it seems like they're willing to step up and play their game. The style that each player is able to do. I've noticed that's the better emphasis there. And that's the sign of when you get a coach who's, at the top of his game and knows how to push the right buttons to get them going the right way. Like he knows what to do with these guys and how to utilize them. And so far, he's doing, it's looking good. It's looking better. And I hope Booch has not gone very long, but I hope that these guys look around and say, we still got to keep doing this for our guys that are out.
Yep. And I guess with the games coming up against Winnipeg, we have, let's see, let me pull up to see who all we have on these upcoming games. We have Winnipeg Tuesday, Flames on Thursday, and then we have Oilers on Saturday. What do you feel if we do? Obviously, if we are without Buchnevich for a few games, what's some things that you feel like they need to? Obviously, the togetherness and everything, but what are some other things that you think that this team needs to possibly focus on in order to come out and get some points from? Because a lot of these teams are doing pretty good as of right now, but what are your thoughts?
I think the biggest thing that they have to do is they have to give their goaltenders some comfort. They can't keep letting Binnington and Hofer just get bombarded with shot after shot after shot.
Yeah.
You go back to the Philadelphia game, that overtime winner that could have been prevented had they actually emphasized a little more defense. I know it's 3-on-3 overtime, so it's not really as necessary, but once you cough up a puck, you got to rush back, and they don't. And so, Binnington's on his own with that. And,
Yeah.
In times past before Montgomery became the head coach, this team has never given their goaltender enough support. And, these goaltenders have to play above and beyond. And it's not that they're not good. They're great goaltenders, but these guys shouldn't have to be peppered every single night.
Yeah.
I want to see more games like against the Rangers that we're throwing a lot of shots at the other team, scoring whatever we can. That way it gives our goaltenders more comfort. So it doesn't have to be a 3-2 game or, a 2-1 game. Instead, it's a 4-2, a 5-2. I want to see goals, and that's the best way to support your goaltending.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that. I mean, especially in speaking of goaltenders, how about Jordan Bennington coming out and getting his 152nd win against New Jersey out in New Jersey, and then the obviously the very memorable kind of production that they had for Bennington and everything before the game yesterday. against Philadelphia. That I thought that was huge for Bennington and for this team. He's been a cornerstone for this team since 19, whenever they were in the hole that they were in, and just to see where this team has gone with Bennington and with all the goaltenders that this team has had. And I mean, yeah, you can say it's Bennington doing all this, that, and another, but it's ultimately been the team that's gotten him where he is with that milestone. And I can't wait to see what more Bennington is able to do for this team, because I felt like that was an honor that he deserves, very much so.
Right. I mean, you got to remember, like, his first game here as a Blue, he gets a shutout, 3-0. His one that makes him the highest winning, the highest winning goaltender Blues history, also 3-0 win. And the first thing he said in the locker room afterwards, after he got his accolades from the guys, he said, "This is a team. Like, I don't do this without these guys." He gave them immediate props. There was nothing else there. He went right to them. He was thankful for them. And he's been a team player since day one. He's wanted to eat yet. And I know a lot of people outside of St. Louis want to dog him about his attitude and stuff like that, do I look nervous? But deep down, he is a team guy. He's always been a Blue. He loves being a Blue. And, for him to get this, I'm so happy to see that. And like you, Brandon, I hope he's here for a long time. I hope he finishes as a Blue. I hope he hoists that cup one more time. It'd be pretty neat to see. But right now, he deserves all this credit, because without him, we don't have that Stanley Cup. He's one of the main contributors. We don't have the memories we have right now because of Jordan Bennington. So huge props to the man. And, I want to see him keep going.
For sure. Yeah, me as well. Because, Mike Liut even hinted at it whenever he had his little video during the memorial for Bennington. He's like, "Can't wait till you get to 200." And we could honestly see that possibly this season if they win enough games, but it's going to take quite a bit to get there. But it is something that's possible. But if not, then we could possibly see it next season. It's all
right.
We'll see. But
he did it. He did it in like 225 games or something, that he got 100. It's a ridiculous record. Like, for him to get it in the time he did, if you look back just earlier this week, Jake Allen, former Blues goaltender, got his 200th win with New Jersey. And he did that in, I think it was like 350 games or something. And that was a great accomplishment. But the fact that Bennington's got over 150 wins and he hasn't even played 300 games is insane.
I was gonna say, he's at like he was at 298 or 290 something, I believe, whenever I looked at it yesterday.
Yeah, he's not, the record speaks for itself. He's a good goaltender.
Yeah. And even to touch on a little bit farther back, that first year, whenever he came into the league, they talked about it yesterday at the game, and it was a comment that they made that his record during like that stretch of wins and everything, or the stretch of games that they had leading up to making the playoffs and everything, that he played in like maybe, I think, 30 something games at the time. And I think he came out with 20 something victories, and there was only maybe a handful of losses that you could count on one hand or two hands, that it was like regulation losses for Bennington at the time. And it's like that, just for a rookie to come out and do the kind of numbers that he had at that time, that was, you don't really see that a whole lot in the league.
No, that is literally, when they say lightning in a bottle, he's literally Zeus, like just throwing everything into a Coke can and going. Like he died. He's wanting that opportunity. He was talking to coaches, talking to scouts, saying he wants this chance. Once he got it, he took it, and he is not letting it go.
Yep. And he's been a great leader for this team, especially this season. Whenever you see camera shots of the bench and you see on like little timeouts or whatever, instead of Bennington staying in the net, you see him skating over to the bench, talking to Bolduc or Broberg or any of the rookies, just wanting to just get any kind of knowledge that they can. And you always see Bennington somewhat or another over at the bench talking with whatever guys want to talk about different things. And I feel like that's very veteran like to see a player doing that, even if it isn't just a rookie that they're going up and talking to.
Right. That's a sign of a great leader, not only willing to talk to guys that have been there as long as he had, but like you said, going to those young guys, giving them tips, giving them pointers. Like, without those type of things, a team doesn't strive. Like, they all have to work hand in hand. Giving even the rookies have to give the veterans some pointers. Like, that's the only way a team succeeds in the NHL or in any sport for that matter, is you give each other feedback and you say what you see might be good, might be bad. And, you take everything you can and you work with it.
Yep. Definitely. I guess aside from some of the points of, talking about veteran leadership, kind of going back to Montgomery, we've seen him and all the different accolades he's had since, most notable, you can see a lot of the ones coming from before, whenever he was in Dallas from 18 and 19, whenever he was with the Stars, going through the playoffs and everything, and then coming to St. Louis and just seeing the numbers of like the special teams that for power plays and penalty kills that the Blues had at that time, whenever they were going up against Colorado for the best power play in the league, and then seeing him going to Boston and having the best record in the NHL for most wins in a regular season, and then just the feats that he had in Boston. Just hearing the things that he said in the interview whenever he came to St. Louis is like, this city has wanted this type of team. We know the people. We have the right people, or we have the right players in the locker room. I'm going to spend time talking with all the players and making sure that I understand everybody the right way. And it's just those types of things, that the things that he's said is just, you can see that he is a very well-known coach in the league, and he is a very good coach just from the things that he has said in interviews, things with the players, post-game stuff. And just having the veteran players that we have and then having a veteran coach, I feel like can bring this team better into more of a light than what we have seen that previously, that maybe make this team into possibly a playoff team coming at the end of this year, and not knowing how things are going to go because we're only 3 games in under Montgomery. So it'll be interesting to see how this team is going to go into, because as Doug Armstrong has said, we're going to probably 2 to 3 years to see what this retool can do. We're maybe a year and a half, 2 years in, and getting Montgomery, I feel like, is a very good piece into getting into the direction they're wanting to go.
Yeah, I think that's the perfect way to do it. And, there's a lot of people that could say one thing or another, but that over the summer, Monty was Army's guy. He wanted him there. And if it wasn't the fact that Boston went to the second round, he probably would have been named the Blues head coach, then. But, it didn't happen. Things had to go different ways. So they went with Bannister, who, honestly, I think Bannister did an admirable job. I think he is a good coach. But the problem is, and I heard a lot of people say this, like, when you give a guy 2 years and you don't give him a comfort level, and they pretty much said, yeah, he's going to fill the gap. Like, they basically said he was a stopgap coach. Well, all that Bannister could do is just do the best he can to get wins.
Yeah.
And that's not a fault against anyone in related to this, but it's not easy when you basically tell a guy like, hey, you're the stopgap. It's like, you're the, it's like you're the rebound boyfriend or something for someone.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, well, I guess I'll do the best I can. So, now what is done is done. Army got his steak dinner, as was also said by Montgomery. So now I'm looking forward to it. He is a great coach. I've admired him from when he was in I think it was North Dakota when he won the championship. When he
Yeah,
was,
I believe so.
and when he's a Bruins coach, like he is an all around amazing coach. He gets his players going, but he does it in the right ways to get them to feel good about themselves, to fight no matter what for their team and for for each other. That's important, and I'm excited. I'm glad they gave him a 5-year contract. Now there's no one can say, well, they got to do this, they got to do that. Like now, and like you said, yeah, maybe this is still in retool level, but you got a coach that not only can motivate this team to win and win well, but he's going to groom those young guys to play up to their maximum potential. And that's what he does.
Yep. So it'll definitely be interesting to see how things go for these next few upcoming games. Because as everybody knows, once you get a new kind of player, a new kind of coach, you're always going to have that new energy or that energy to want to win. And we've seen it with the New York Rangers. We saw it with the New Jersey Devils. It was kind of there a little bit, I would say, with the Philadelphia game, especially when the Philadelphia Flyers played the previous day. I felt like the Blues could have had a little bit more energy going into that game, but you never know with how things are going to go on games like that. But as we said before, there's a few games coming up this upcoming week against Winnipeg, against Edmonton, against Calgary. So it'll be an interesting few games to see how things go for the Blues, especially under Jim Montgomery. So we will do what we can to be back on Sunday evenings. We're going to try to be back on at this time most weekends like we were previously. We know we've been gone for a considerable break, but we've both had busy schedules, and hopefully things are going to turn around. We'll be able to get back on a regular basis for you guys. So you have anything, closing comments, James, before we get going?
Yes, I'd like to thank the Bruins president, Cam Neely, for throwing a hit about his team just being a game above 500 and getting rid of one of the best coaches in the NHL. Mwah, thank you so much, Cam.
That was one thing I didn't understand with why all that happened the way it did. I mean, you're X amount of games into the season, and you're just like, oh, we're going to get rid of our coach.
He's fired 3 coaches with winning records. Like these weren't like these were just like okay guys. Like Bruce Cassidy took him to the Stanley Cup Finals, lost to the Blues. Oh well, but nonetheless, a very good coach. Who's the one before that who won the Stanley Cup? Fired him.
Wasn't it Cassidy?
No, Cassidy went to the finals. It was oh my gosh, now I feel bad. It's actually who's one of the Blues coaches now on the bench.
I can't think of his name, but I know who you're talking about. I can't think of it.
3 different really good coaches that you got rid of. Like, I don't know what you're looking for. I'm really glad that you decided to get rid of our guy, because Monty is a hell of a coach. I'm glad to see him here.
And he wanted to be in St. Louis.
It was a depth. Yeah, you knew he wanted to. I mean, you saw when he came out. He wore the old Blues practice hoodie, and
yep.
Where'd you have that? He goes, I had in my closet. Once a Blue, always a Blue. Like that.
Exactly.
Hells a lot. So it's going to be exciting. I'm really excited for this.
Definitely. But all right, guys. Well, thank you guys for tuning in for this Sunday's edition of the Blues Notes show. And we will see you guys hopefully next Sunday. We'll see you then.
Go Blues!